there really aren't just thems. They're just an extension of yous. They're just another variety of you. They're just, I mean, there's no point in, it gets into some sort of romantic religious mush when you start saying it's you, it's you. It's your reincarnation. It's your. It doesn't. It's not about you. That's the whole point. It's just about what you are. The total of what you are will exist in that reality. The name changes. A few little preferences change. The face changes a little. So what? The essence, the substance is the fucking same. And so it only makes logical sense to recognize that that future is built on what you do. That that you have to take responsibility for that. You can't just walk away and say, no, I just am here and there's nothing else. I mean, it's part of recognizing reality, is recognizing there's consequences to our existence, and that future is real. It's real people. But anyway, the point of number 3 is strictly supposed to be that you just recognize the effective, essential, whatever the right word is, the practical reality that them is you. There really is no you that you can, in an ethical sense or in any rational way, make more distinct or special than that. I mean, the that's are just as important as the yous. So anyway, enough of that one. Alright, 4. Recognize that it's about prevention and not punishment. It's not, there's so much more, there's value in preventing something stupid, or preventing something hurtful or harmful or bad, by however we describe that word. But there's really no point in punishing it. There's no point in thinking punitively. So, we all engage in this game of, let's humiliate it, let's poke a stick at it, let's do something to it. And it isn't really that important. I mean, stopping the little Frankenstein-y thing, the little monster, isn't as important as stopping a new monster from being born. I mean, the game is in treating the disease, not treating the symptoms. I mean, it's another one of those kind of arguments, that you're better off not wasting your time trying to kill a beast if that beast is going to be reborn. If you're leaving the seeds and bashing the plant, there's no real point in it. If you're pulling the weeds and the seeds are falling, you're not accomplishing anything. And so it's much more valuable to focus on the seeds. And so, these assholes make these videos about the meat eating, and they never address the point that it's about the seeds. You go ahead, indulge in your addiction, indulge in your little happy pleasure cruise, but just acknowledge the fact that people live quite functionally and happily, and with just as full potential to be happy as you, without that blight of having to eat another animal to sustain their existence. So it's not some sort of impractical, horrible, harsh thing to do. No, it's just acquiring preferences over time and conditioning. So if you can make the next generation free of that addiction, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's only logical to do that. I mean, why make people that are blighted by something that's not only not very healthy, but is obviously ethically questionable, at least questionable. So why impose it on the future? And so when these pigs, these assholes, shove a roast beef sandwich in their mouth like they're proving some sort of point, like I'm defying your scorn. What are you accomplishing? So you might just validate in some young person's head that they need meat, and that you're gonna maybe prevent them from making a transition in their lives early enough where they'll live the rest of their life quite satisfied without that addiction. I mean, if I could stop every kid from ever starting to smoke cigarettes, I would do everything I could to do that. I wouldn't sit there and say, yeah, smoke cigarettes, it's a great idea, do that. I'm not going to logically defend it or rationally defend it or any of that stuff. I mean, it's a stupid addiction. I mean, I do make the argument there's no point in beating the addicts up because it is a true addiction. It's not a choice. It's an addiction. I mean, it's certainly not a choice like, you know, what kind of food you eat, because that's obviously something that can be changed a lot more easily. But let's not even get into that argument. The point is, I'm never going to defend cigarette smoking. I'll never defend the next generation acquiring the addiction. I'm not gonna glorify my vice. I mean, that's stupid. It's idiotic. And that's all these people are doing. They're just glorifying their vice. It's spite. Well, I'm gonna, you know, this is how I thumb my nose at you. I will, you know, perhaps, you know, make somebody else think that this is necessary, or people have to be this way, and they don't. So anyway, I went a little too far on that subject. The point is prevention is that's where the real value is. I mean, people have to, you know, thinking in terms of preventing is so much wiser than wallowing in, you stay pissed off at some asshole for 10 years and you're so distracted by it that you end up in a situation where you create another big problem in your life because you're too focused on, you know, old dead problems instead of focusing on the new problems that can arise. So, you know, it's you know, it's just smart to think in terms of preventing a mess and don't waste too much time cleaning up messes. I mean, if those are the two choices, cleaning up a mess or preventing a mess, work on the prevention. Alright, where the hell am I? Alright, number 5, I put down principle and productivity. But this one's obviously, this is going to be an ambiguous one. Because it's really about defining these things. But that's how our brains work. I mean, I guess the point I'm making here is that it's really critical to understand that your brain does run on that. Your logic runs on that. Your will is built out of, basically, principles. And that's where you have to understand what it is that you're attempting to do by living through those principles. I mean, what is the value to be accomplished in your life? I mean, if your principles are, it's me, it's all about me, well, I mean, those could be your principles. I don't think they're very rational, but you have to be focused on, you have to recognize those principles, accept them, and live by them, attempt to live by them. I mean, the principles are going to tell you the truth, and that's the only way you're going to get to being productive. And so we'll call number 6 the definition of productivity, which again gets complicated. I mean, there's so many ways to word this, but the idea is to prevent or eliminate more deprivation, you know, conscious deprivation in other beings than you cause or personally endure. So, I mean, that's, you have your own qualitative state of life, and then you have what you impose on other people. And this question gets a little complicated just because we don't know the real value of our pleasure. So that's why I focus on the word deprivation, because if you take away the deprivation, presumably you have a content and satisfied human. You have a happy human. So I think that works as just a way of wording, a way of conveying the idea. But I mean, it really is that simple. I mean, all we're looking for in defining what is productive is eliminating what we know through our personal experience. I mean, we know that it's really good to prevent bad things from happening to ourselves. I mean, we know that. We don't like pain, we don't like suffering, we don't like illness, we don't like a lot of things. And if we can prevent those things anywhere else, we've accomplished something. It's a good. It's just a good by, it's logically obvious. And some people will say that's not an objective truth because we have to acquire the knowledge subjectively. But that just means that we happen to have a telescope built into our head. We can see it because of our personal circumstance. So we were just allowed a better insight into what consciousness is because we're conscious. So we know that consciousness needs caring for. That it's that it isn't the same to be deliriously happy and horrifically miserable. That those two states of consciousness are not the same. They're not qualitatively the same. No rational, lucid brain would ever advocate creating a universe full of misery, horror, suffering, whatever, when it had the choice to make a universe full of happy, satisfied, blah blah blah. So I mean, it's obvious. It can't be disputed. It's a fact. It's important. The how consciousness is being lived, how its state is important.